I have walked this path more times than I can count. And every time I've come to this point, I've always gone straight and followed the path around that side of the hill in front of me. A few days ago, I went this way. And that led me to learn something that I hadn't expected. And I'm not quite sure how I feel about it. Hello there. It is a Friday afternoon. I am outside of what's called Ungbong Neighborhood Park, which is right here. It stretches off this way a little bit. It's part of the Namsan Seoul Forest Trail. Just over there is Maebongsan Park. That's a park I have shown you a few times now. Some of my favorite trails, local trails, are there. I walk through there very frequently. And I'm looking over right now Gumho-dong. That's it right below us. There's a tunnel that runs right beneath us and goes back over on the other side here to Shindangdong and Yaksu Station. Gumho Station is out of sight there. It's just on the other side of the trees. The exits are. I can just see the elevator right there above that tree. When I first saw this area up around here, particularly right here where these apartments are, this whole plot of land here looked like it had been picked up straight out of the Korean countryside and dropped right into Seoul. There were small patches of farmland. People were growing crops here, vegetables, and a lot of old buildings. It didn't look like Seoul at all. And I guess it was some point, a little over 10 years ago, 10, 12 years, something like that. It was at some point in the early to mid 2010s that they did all this redevelopment here and started building these apartments. But there are apartments all through here, as you can see. Now, there is still a street down there, a stretch of road with a bunch of older buildings, which I showed you a little bit of in a Q&A video I did last year, my second Q&A video. I walked through there very recently, and it had been a few months since the last time I passed through, and found some new buildings had been constructed, some new villas. But that's a different story. That, you know, when they tear down one building and build up another one, that's one thing. But this is massive redevelopment. These apartments transform entire neighborhoods. And if you look at this side and compare it to Shindangdong on the other side over here, it is a huge contrast, because Shindangdong doesn't quite look like this with all these high-rise apartment buildings. But that's about to change. So from this vantage point, we are looking out at the southern part of Shindangdong, off in this direction. And the rest of Shindangdong is off in that direction. And you do see these apartments here, Yaksu Heights. But just on the other side of those apartments is a neighborhood of villas and old houses that have been around for decades. And you can see over on the hill over there, all those old buildings. I've shown you parts of that area in past videos. The city wall runs along right there. I don't know how well you can see it. So Shindangdong is a broader neighborhood that's divided into smaller administrative areas. And once upon a time, they were all named with numbers, right? Shindang Ildong, Shindang Idong, 1, 2, 3, Shindang 1 Dong, Shindang 2 Dong, and so on like that. I don't remember how many there were, but most of them have names now. So right over there on that side, that is Dasandong, and that actually stretches a little further up to the next block over there. Just to our left, where Namsan Town apartments are right here, this is Yaksudong. And it extends over this way to the Namsan Heights apartments. And on the other side of the Namsan Heights apartments is Cheonggudong. I have come to think of Shindangdong as kind of like one of the last bastions of old Seoul. And by old Seoul, I don't mean ancient or very, very old, just Seoul as I know it, right? In one of the recent videos I did, I took you through some narrow alleys between some old houses. That was in Shindangdong. While whole blocks at a time have vanished in other parts of Seoul in these new town projects, development in Shindangdong has been piecemeal, one building at a time. There are plenty of new buildings around, some of them quite modern, but the neighborhood has still managed to hold on to its character. It hasn't been lost completely. With that kind of gradual development, it's an evolution, not a replacement. So this staircase is quite a long and steep one. I actually came up this way a couple years ago. A lot of fun, a lot easier to go down. But this will take us into the upper part of Cheonggudong. And this is Cheonggudong. Now, if you ask people if they know Cheonggudong, I think it's 50-50 whether they'll answer yes. There is a Cheonggu station that people will know if they spend time on line 5 and line 6. So even if they've never heard of Cheonggudong, they may have heard of Cheonggu Station and can make the connection. And you contrast that with Dasandong across the way. What's interesting here is Cheonggudong is tiny. It doesn't even cover a full block. But Dasandong is 2 blocks. A huge area over there. Nobody knows it. I have never met anybody outside of Dasandong who knows Dasandong. Everybody thinks that's all Yaksudong, probably because of Yaksu Station, which is a big transfer hub between line 3 and line 6. But Cheonggudong does have a little bit of a claim to fame. It was, for 50 years, over 50 years, the home of a very well-known and influential public figure, Kim Jong-pil. He was one of the 3 Kims. Kim Jong-pil, JP, Kim Yong-sam, YS, and Kim Dae-jung, DJ. YS and DJ became presidents in the 90s. They were presidents of Korea. But JP, he was 2 times prime minister, served multiple terms in the National Assembly. He was the founder and first director of the KCIA under Park Chung-hee, the authoritarian president who took power in a coup in 1961 and held on to it until he was assassinated in 1979. And Kim Jong-pil played a major role in Park's administration. But he lived here in what is now Cheonggudong, in the greater Shindangdong area from 1965 until he left us in 2018. The house where he lived, sadly, is no longer there. His son and daughter decided it was too expensive to maintain an old house like that, so they sold it in 2018, and it was replaced in the following year by 2, I guess, villas. And that's how Shindangdong has developed for years. There's a couple of newish buildings right there with the red brick and the brown one, the brown stone thing behind it. Brighter and cleaner, fresher looking than the buildings around, but you've still got these old buildings around. The neighborhood still has its character. And this building looks newish too. But that's about to change. When I came down this way the other day, that's when I noticed these yellow stickers on all the doors here. Konga. I walked through here the other day and I saw stickers everywhere. And it's actually not all of Cheonggudong, it's just a portion of it, pretty much all of the northern end of it, and a little arm that stretches off in this direction, but not the entire neighborhood. And I asked my wife, is there a Shindang Newtown project or something going on? And it's not technically a Newtown project because it's not designated as such. It's a Shindangdong redevelopment. Now, my wife is a real estate agent. She's aware of this kind of thing, but she didn't know the details because she doesn't deal much in this area. So I looked into it, and it's bigger than I thought. There are multiple zones across Shindangdong that are slated for redevelopment, and that includes the area that I showed you when I did the walk through Central Seoul, talking about why I love walking through Seoul. The little narrow maze of alleyways with the old buildings, that whole area next to that, where I started that video, all of that is slated for development. That is in a development zone. That zone actually, I found out the owners, the landlords in that zone, the building owners, came to agreement pretty quickly on moving the project forward. They have to get like 70% buy-in from all the owners, right? They all have to agree on it, 70% of them. Sometimes it's difficult to get that number. Other times it's not so difficult. And in this case, it was very easy. And that zone was actually on track to be the first to get into development, but they've hit a snag along the way, apparently a dispute about which construction company is going to do it. And so this zone, which is zone 8, has actually managed to make progress the fastest. They've already started the relocation process. It started back in November of last year, and it ends next month. That's why you see all these vacant building stickers. I get that a lot of these buildings are falling apart and are safety hazards, fire hazards, whatever. They're expensive to maintain, although some people have apparently upgraded some of them, but not everybody can. So yeah, they need to be replaced. But the more and more I see of this mass redevelopment where entire neighborhoods are replaced by tower apartments, high-rise apartments, whatever you want to call them, I just have to question why. How does that make sense at this point? For every one of these neighborhoods that disappear, where you're replacing affordable housing with these expensive apartments that the people in the area probably can't afford, you are now taking away one more affordable neighborhood in the city. And the people who are being relocated are going to have to search further afield to find affordable housing. Some of them may have to leave the city altogether. I know for a fact that some people in Zone 3 of the Hanam Newtown project in Hanam-dong and Pogwang-dong, when they were relocated last year between the end of 2023 and May of 2024, some of them moved to Shindang-dong. I can't say if any moved here to Cheonggu, but I do know that there were people who moved to somewhere in Shindang-dong, and now much of Shindang-dong is being redeveloped. So where are the people here in Cheonggu-dong and other areas in Shindang-dong? Where are they going to go? They can't go to Hanam-dong and Pogwang-dong now because that's a Newtown project.
Where is the moment we need it the most? You kick up the leaves and the magic is lost. Tell me your blue skies fade to gray. Tell me your passion's gone away, and I don't need no carrying on. You stand in the line just to hit a new low. You're faking a smile with the coffee to go. And tell me your life's been way offline. Every time, and I don't need no carrying on. Cause you had a bad day, you're taking one down. You sing a sad song just to turn it around. You say you don't know, you tell me don't lie. You're working a smile and you go for a ride. You had a bad day, the camera don't lie. You're coming back down and you really don't mind. You had a bad day. You had a bad day. Well, you need a blue sky holiday. The point is they laugh at what you say, and I don't need no carrying on. You had a bad day, you're taking one down. You sing a sad song just to turn it around. You say you don't know, you tell me don't lie. You're working a smile and you go for a ride. You had a bad day, the camera don't lie. You're coming back down and you really don't mind. You had a bad day. Cause you had a bad day, you're taking one down. You sing a sad song just to turn it around. You say you don't know, you tell me don't lie. You work on a smile and you go for a ride. You have a bad day, you see what you like. And how does it feel? Oh, one more time. You had a bad day. You had a bad day. Had a bad day.
This isn't the video I had planned to make today, but I just felt like I had to share it, especially since just a few weeks ago I published a video talking about why I love walking through Central Seoul. And given I don't walk up through this part of Cheonggu-dong often at all, and that shows in the fact that I had no idea that this redevelopment project was happening here. It's been several months since the last time I walked up the street. But it's not just Cheonggu-dong, it's all of Sindang-dong being affected by this redevelopment project. And entire neighborhoods that I love walking through are going to disappear. So I thought I'd let you know about it in case you're in Seoul or planning to visit Seoul in the next few months. There's still going to be time to check out Cheonggu-dong before everything goes down. And the other zones haven't begun the relocation process yet. So you've got plenty of time to see the rest of Sindang-dong, but there are going to be massive, massive changes coming in the next few years. Even Baekhak Sijang, the little neighborhood market I showed in a video last year, it's, according to a map I've seen, it's right on the edge of a redevelopment zone. I don't know if that means it's going to be part of the redevelopment or if it's going to be spared. After the sale of his father's house was complete, Kim Jong-pil's son made a post on Facebook in which he wrote, "Today, I completely handed over the house in Cheonggu-dong, where I have been with my parents all my life. Finally, I bowed to my house and closed the iron gate. But why did I cry so much?" Well, thanks for coming along with me today. Thanks for liking, thanks for subscribing, and I will see you next time. Hopefully with a video I feel better about making.
Cause
Until
you had
then,
a bad
bye-bye.
day.